Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I am new to using felties, so I'm trying out some today and I will show you some ideas using these ones here, which I got inside of my dream box by Sophia Grace craft supplies. These are also available to purchase separately. I will have everything in this video that I use linked in the description below. To get to the description, just press on the title and it will bring the description up with all of the products linked. So in my last video, I did an unboxing video of the dream box, and this is what I got in the dream box, a breakdown of all of the products, including the felties and these gorgeous fabrics as well. So the felties is what this video is all about today. We are going to have a little play. As I said, I am brand new to felties. I've never used them before, so we're going to have a little experiment and then you can see if this is something that you might like to do. This one here is Bertie B Fairy Friend, and you get the felty, the wings and the fur. And these wings are actually on a water-soluble background, so I'm going to show you how to work these. Then we've got Connie the caterpillar, and this comes in two halves. We're going to have a little play to see what we can come up with using this felty on these fabrics here. And then this one here, I've already made the bow up, as you can see, with the gorgeous garden critters themed fabrics from the dream box. And I'm going to be using these Peekaboo felties, which are on a glittery background. So let's get started. So the first felty we're using today are these Peekaboo daisies, and I've already made my bow up for this one. It's already fully assembled because you can add these felties to the bow last minute, so that is why I've already made my bow up. To make this bow, I've used these top templates here, which is the Beauty Bow by Glitter Glitter on the Wall. Again, I will link everything in the description below, and this makes the double layered 3.5 inch bow. So that is the bow I've made already. I've also cut out these little bugs from the fabric. This leatherette, I have to say, it is such lovely quality. I got it from my dream box, but you can buy it separately on Sophia Grace Craft Supplies website. Again, I will link this in the description below. And it was so easy to cut out these tiny little details from the print. The fabric just cuts like a knife through butter. It is so simple to cut. So as you can see, I've already cut out one of my felties. You get two on one piece. So I'm going to cut out the second one now and show you how to do that. So you want to cut close to the stitching, but not through it, obviously, because you will ruin your felty. So I like to start where there's a nice straight line, so it's nice and easy. I'm lining up my scissors so there's around 1 millimetre or two distance from my cut to the stitching, and I'm going to carefully cut up to that first petal, and then using my other hand I'm going to move my scissors and my fabric as I cut around my felty shape. And when you go between the petals, just go in a little way and then stop, turn it back around, and then continue cutting 1 millimetre or two away from that stitching. You want to really take your time with this, because like I say, if you slip with the scissors and you cut through that stitching, you will ruin your felty. So I'll give you a couple of ideas of what you can do with your felties. So you can decide where you like these to be placed. So I've got my fully assembled bow. You can pop your felties in the sides so that they come out from either side. Like that, they look gorgeous like that. Or you could stick them under the top loops coming out from the side. You may have to trim off a little bit of the end of this to get that to fit in, depending on the type of bow template that you use. But you could have them coming out from the loops. But today I'm going to have mine coming out from these loops, one on the top and one on the bottom. And to attach these, you just need hot glue, no fancy glue, because these are felt backed, and felt and hot glue works super well together. So taking my hot glue gun, I'm going to place the glue on this triangle tab piece here. So none on the top, just this triangle piece. like that. And then I'm going to pop it into the top loop. I'm not going to push it toward the glue yet until I know that I've got it in the correct place. So about there is where I want it, and then I'm going to pop my finger in there and push it against the front of that loop. So that one's on there already, and now you can see why they call these a peekaboo, because it just peeks out from the bow. And now we're going to do the same with the other one, so placing the hot glue just on that triangle tab bottom piece, and then insert it inside my larger bottom loop, making sure it's where I need it to sit before I push it up against the bow. And then I'm just popping my finger inside the loop because I don't want to push on the bottom of the loop, because I don't want to flatten my lovely bow shape. So that is the daisies now on there now. Isn't that gorgeous? Now I could leave it like this, but I did cut these out because I did think about popping these on here as well. I'll just have a look to see what they look like. Yeah, I think I'll go for it. So I'm going to stick the little ladybug at the bottom. So again, just using hot glue. I'm going to stick the ladybug on that bottom corner, slightly overlapping the loop so I was going toward the flower. And then the butterfly, I'm going to do the same on the opposite side on the top. And there you go, that's our first try with felties, and I absolutely love the finish of this. It is so cute, and it's very unusual as well. Like you don't see many bows like this, so these really pop and stand out. I love that one. So that's the first one done. The next one we're going to do is Connie the caterpillar. I haven't assembled the bow for this one yet because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the feltie, because it comes in two parts. You can sort of experiment with this one. So I'm going to cut this out in the same way as I did the daisies. We're going to very carefully cut close to the stitching, around 1 millimetre or 2 away, taking our time all the way around these felt shapes. So there are our felties now carefully cut out. And now I'm going to assemble the bow, but I'm bearing in mind how I want to place my little caterpillar. So I've already got an idea in my mind for this. Whether it will work or not, I don't know, but that's the whole idea of this video. I just thought I would come on here and experiment with the felties for the first time, and hopefully I will give you some inspiration. So I'm going to take my bottom loops first, and I'm going to assemble these as I normally would. So I'm going to place the hot glue on the tab ends and bring them both into the middle. Again, this is the same template that I used for the last one, the 3.5-inch beauty bow template, and I've also cut out the smaller loop to make it a double layered looped bow. These two, I cut out the loops separately so I could pick out what image I wanted. I have done a tutorial on how to get the perfect pattern placement on your bow loops and how to join them together. I will pop a link to this tutorial in the corner here now, but make sure you save this one to your watch later so that we don't lose the video. So I'm now going to join these two halves together by using a piece of scrap felt, making sure I've got the images in the middle where I want them to be. And I'm also going to make these loops as I normally would, so adding the glue to the tab ends and bringing both of the sides into the middle. And I'm going to add the tails now to the bottom loops, the larger loops. So I'm going to place some glue in the centre of the tails, add my larger loops to the tails, And now taking the top loops, I'm not going to glue them down because I want to add on my felty. So I'm just laying them on there to begin with. And I'm going to make my caterpillar look like it's coming out from underneath this top layer of the bow. Now, just to give you an idea, you could have it coming out from the bottom. You could have it coming out from either side, something like that, and then layer your bow up, but that makes it look quite big. And on this print, he's got his little tail coming out and his head is going up. So I'm going to copy this idea and I'm going to have mine coming up from the top here and then coming out from the side there. So I'm going to use my bow as a guide so I can see how I want him to come out. So I want him about there. So I'm going to place my glue just on his lower body and that tab end. And I'm going to place him coming out diagonally. This little bit here overhangs the bow slightly, so I am going to cut that smaller so it's in line with the bow. Again, I'm not squeezing on the bow loops, I'm just squeezing by putting my finger inside and pressing against the felty to stick it to the bow because I don't want to ruin the shape of my bow. And then I'm going to bring his tail coming out from the side. So again, I'm going to use this as a guide so I can see how far out I want his tail to stick. So it's in line with that middle piece. So again, I'm going to use my hot glue and then place it in line with this middle, popping my finger inside of the loop to push that felty on to my fabric. I'm not putting any glue on this end because I want the tail to come out and stick out rather than wrap around the bow. And now we can add on our top layer, so making sure I've got the pattern at the top. I'm going to place my top loop on there now. So it looks like this so far. So now we're ready to add our clip and our centre strip. So I've got my ribbon lined clip here. I've just lined it with some white ribbon and I've got my centre strip. I did cut my centre strip slightly thinner than the standard Beauty Bow centre strip because I didn't want to cover my lovely little designs on this pattern print. So what I did was I drew around half of this template, then I scooted it over to make it more narrow and then drew around the other half. So we've got this thinner strip for the centre because I do like the rounded look centre, but obviously when you've got a pattern you don't want to cover it up with the round centre, so that is why I did that. So I'm going to add my clip to the underside of the bow first of all. And then I'm going to add my centre strip. So I'm going to add the glue to the rounded part first so I can line it up on the top of the bow. So as you can see, I've still got that rounded centre, but if that was wider, I would have covered up most of my lovely butterfly on that side. And then I'm going to finish gluing these tab ends down underneath the clip. So I'm going to place some more hot glue on either end. Open up my clip by not pressing on the loops, just the tail part so I don't flatten my bow, and then bring those round underneath the clip. And that is our Connie the caterpillar hair bow. Isn't that just the cutest? So now we're on to our third and final felty, which is Bertie B, our fairy friend. Now because this is a large felty, I've got a teeny tiny bow that I've cut out ready here, and again I use the beauty bow, but I just used the smallest one, and that makes a teeny tiny 2-inch bow. So the tails is what determine the size of your finished bow, and these tails are a teeny tiny 2-inch. And the reason being, because it's a big felty, I thought if I popped it on a bow, so if I show you this one for example, I know I haven't assembled the felty yet, but that is gonna basically cover the whole of the bow. You'd have to make a really large bow for the fabric to show with the felty. So I've decided to take the bow and use it on my felty. And also this felty is a little bit different in how it works. So this will be a good tutorial for those that have got this felty and you want to know how it works. So these wings are on a water soluble background, and it tells us here, to remove the water soluble backing, simply run under hot water until it is not sticky and then allow it to dry flat. Now I'm going to get a bowl of hot water. I'm going to boil the kettle, let it cool down a little bit. Obviously I'm not going to put this into boiling hot water, so just hot water from the kettle, and then I'm going to show you how these work. So I've got my bowl here and I've filled it with some hot but not boiling water, and I've got my wings for Bertie the bee. I'm going to place this into my bowl of hot water, and as you can see, immediately that background, the water soluble background, has just come right away. I'm going to pick out my wings now. I've got a little bit of fluff on there, so I'm just going to take that away. And then I've got a piece of kitchen roll here. I'm going to lay my wings on the kitchen roll. I've folded this in half, so I'm just going to bring that over now so I can kind of sandwich it and take away some of the moisture. And hopefully that will help that to dry a little bit quicker. Whilst our wings are drying, I'm going to assemble our little mini bow and place the fur onto our fuzzy bumblebee. So again, I've cut out my fabric already, and I cut them out in 2 halves so I could pick out the perfect pattern placement. So on this half I've got my bumblebee, and on this half I'm going to have this daisy showing. So I'm going to join these two together in the same way as I did before, using the piece of felt, and assemble the whole bow, but this time we're not going to add a clip to it. So there is our little mini 2-inch bow, and I'm now going to cut out my felty again in the same way that I did the others, leaving a 1 or 2 millimeter space between my cut and the stitching. So I've cut out the bumblebee felt shape now, and I'm going to add on my bow. So as I said before, this would be too big to add on top of a bow, so I've decided to use my gorgeous fabric which matches my bee, and I'm going to add this little bow to my bee. How cute is that going to look? So I'm just going to place some glue on the back of this little mini bow, just using hot glue, because again, hot glue and felt works really well together. You could add it to the side, but I'm going to do it in the middle so that her little antennae at the top here can still be seen. And I'm putting it high enough so that her eyes are not covered. I know this was called Bertie bee, which makes it a he, but I've now made it into Bertha bee, if you like. So I've got my little fur here now, like a marabou feather trim, and this comes with the felty. And I'm just going to trim this top piece off. So I'm pulling the feathers down away, and I'm just trimming off this top and just fluffing it all round. And then I'm going to cut it to a little bit longer than the body. So again, I'm going to move the fur or the feathers downward, split them away from where I'm cutting. You do get a lot of feathers come away when you cut this feather trim, it's just how it is. And I've got some extra there now which I can set aside and use again. So as you can see, where I've cut it, you will get some natural shedding from those feathers. I'll have to hoover my floor when I'm done. So I've got this nice little fluffy round piece now ready to attach to the body. So I'm going to do it this way so that the feathers are coming down away from the face. I'm going to place the glue over the bee's body, so down the middle mainly, but I'm going to do some at the sides also, so I can really place that where I want it to sit. So if I place that over the top of the glue, I can then spread the feathers and push them into the glue, so I know that they're going to stay in place over that body where I want it to be covered. Then just give it another little pull to get rid of any loose feathers. And then you can give this a trim if you want. I don't want to cut it too much because I like all the little overhangy feathers, to be honest. I love that super fuzzy look. So yeah, just a little trim just to get rid of any extra long pieces. But you don't want to cut it too much so that it looks too neat and round. So there you have your little bee. And the wings, I did run these under my hairdryer, so they're now completely dry. So as you can see, we've got rid of that backing and you're left with these gorgeous lace wings. I absolutely love these, aren't they pretty? Such a good idea, and as you saw, it was so easy to do. So we're going to add these wings now to the back of our bee. So you want to place them so that the middle of the wings is just under the neck part there. So I'm going to add the glue there and also a little bit on either side, and being very careful because obviously now this hasn't got any backing. Just want to make sure I've got it the correct way. So I would say that's the front by looking at the embroidery. And I'm very carefully placing it into the glue, but I don't want to burn my fingers because it is going to come through that design. So there we have our 𝘵𝘩𝘏𝑡𝑦 now all ready to add to either a headband or a hair clip. So I've got these black headbands here, which I thought they would work well. So I would stick this on the side like that. So you've got a bee headband, but I'm actually going to add it to a clip because my daughter prefers clips. So I'm going to add a clip across the wing part there. So I'm just going to place some hot glue on that clip and place that under my bee. And then if you find it's a little bit floppy, to be fair, that won't matter because when it's on the head, you won't have to worry about that. But what you can do to combat that is to cut another strip of your scrap felt and stick that down the length of the feltie and over the clip. So I'm going to open the clip, place that down and over the clip and down the length of that feltie, and that will just give that some extra staying power and stiffness to the back. So as you can see, it's still got a little bit of movement, but nowhere near as much as it did before adding the felt. And there you go. There we have my first experiment using felties, and I have to say I've had so much fun using these today, and I definitely will be using more of these in the future because, well, look at them. They're just so different. They make the bows look so unusual to anything that you've ever seen before. And yeah, they're just so much fun to use. I hope you enjoyed this video today. If you did, please hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And if you press the bell button, that will turn on notifications. I'll be back again soon with another video. I'll see you soon. Bye for now.